All right. Hey, Graham.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, we're live. We're live on a Wednesday. We were talking about doing a show last night, and then it was like, duh, Game 6 of the World Series. Braves brought it home,
Yeah,
brought a
World Cup
championship home.
champions.
Yep, that's pretty great. I don't know, a lot of people in the Southeast are pretty damn excited about that. And the Braves are cool because they cross over to everybody. You know, there's a lot of Alabama fans, Tennessee fans, South Carolina fans that are real happy today. But most of all, the Georgia and Braves fans are really damn happy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. The Alabama Braves fans have not suffered a 26-year championship drought, so I don't want to hear shit from them today.
That is well said. So we're going to cover the game from Saturday. And before we get started with some of our plays and stats, I want to give a big shout out to Jim Wood, who hosts the My God a podcast, which is a great sort of compendum partner to us as both as friends, Georgia fans, but also they put out a really good show that kind of meshes with us. They get it out real early in the week. They talk about sort of the stuff, and they certainly give us lots of shout out. And the reason, in addition to that, Jim got me the files for us this week. So I was at the game, and I did not record it. And CBS blows, and it's very hard to get a replay of it. But Jim had it and shared it with us. So thank you, Jim. And check out, please. Yeah, check out My God a Podcast if you're not already. All right.
Yeah.
Graham, first takeaways from the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think defense obviously won the day. They remain dominant, but there's also the scenario of like how does that game play out if Georgia doesn't force a bunch of turnovers at the end of the first half? And I mean, I think Monken keeps running his stuff and all of that, but there was some bad decision making from the quarterback position with Stetson Bennett, and the offensive line play, at least early and in a lot of the first half, was kind of all over the place. There was just a lot of missed assignments. There was some times Darnell was missing run blocks and just stuff that you hadn't seen from this Georgia team in a few weeks. So I mean, thank God for a generational defense, because I think that game gets pretty tight otherwise.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I think the big question, right, is will Georgia will the coaching staff turn on this tape and see something that makes them decide to go back to JT Daniels, or at least start kind of working him back into the flow of everything. Well, I also think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say before we get into that, because I think that's a conversation that's going to be had over at least probably at least this week. Yeah, exactly. But I've got the stats. Georgia netted 2.1 yards per play. It's 50% success rate and a 0.194 EPA, which is good. And obviously with the negative EPA plays from the pick six and turnovers that Georgia's defense was able to force, they had a pretty decent success rate as it goes versus Georgia. I mean, we've been holding people around 30%, and they got 40% success on some of their plays. But they just, like you said, they needed a lot of plays to go down the field. They've got good yardages, as Dan Mullen would like to talk about, but a 4.8 yards per play, and we held their rushing to a season low, I believe. Let me see if I can pull that up. They had 4.8 yards rushing for the day, and they've averaged close over 6. And we talked about, that wasn't 6 yards per rush. It's not going to happen against this Georgia defense, and that's what Florida needed to get done. And on the flip side, Georgia had a good day running the ball, really. It may have been backloaded with that 50-yard Zamir White rush, but we averaged over 5 yards a carry, 55% success rate, and a really good explosive rating, or EPA. So that was good. I know we've got some not so good to talk about in the offense, but it wasn't. I mean, it's like we're nitpicking. We're the best team in the country, so we're going to sort of point out some deficiencies and maybe some areas that we should be able to improve.
I mean, a lot of this was what we expected. We saw that counter play. I mean, there was the big, I think, 45 or so yard run that Zamir had to cap it off, but they still ran that play 6 times for 12 yards and a tenth on the ground. That bigger run at the end did inflate that average, but they were getting nice 7-8 yard chunks off that play.
I've got that. I've got 6 plays for 77 total yards and 83% success rate. And on the flip side, that wheel route, that's not so good.
You're gonna Dan Mullen did not innovate, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that LSU did Georgia a big favor by getting a lead in that game and forcing Mullen to empty some of that stuff out of his playbook because they ran a lot of that halfback pass action with Richardson the week before and, burned it on tape. I think Georgia would have been looking for it anyways after last year, but it probably reinforced it to all the players that were watching film that was coming down the pipe. But yeah, I mean, like Georgia on offense, flood variations. You saw a lot of cross and PA boot. 9.5 yards per attempt on PA boot. Like a lot of that came off the Curious bomb there at the end of the half. But you saw a lot of screens. That little screen to Brock Bowers, I thought was a nice play. But yeah, I mean,
while you talk, I'm going to start playing some plays. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I thought that just in general. Yeah, I mean, Georgia started out right there with that tackle counter, like we talked about, pulling these guys over to the right side and seeing that first play and seeing how well it was blocked by Sawyer and Schaefer. It was like, all right, well, here we go. Georgia's going to have a big day on the ground. It wasn't that clean a lot of the time, but when it was clean, it was really, really nice. And, you saw some good stuff there. And then here you saw Zamir come off left side, do a good job, break some tackles. Bowers is out there in front.
It was an exciting drive to start the game, and when you move the ball,
yeah.
and there's one of those, underneath
those little
passes.
leak plays to Darnell that Monken likes to use to pull guys out of the box. And I think, when we talk about this whole quarterback thing, it's like I think that's part of the reason why they're going to be reluctant to pull Stetson Bennett is because he does roll the pocket well and give you some of that action on these boots that Monken seems to really like to be running. But it's like here, you go back to the ground and don't get very good blocking up front. Florida did start loading up front, and that's a good job there by Bennett, just getting the ball out against a six-man front and leaking it out into the flat to McConkey. But here, this play I thought was kind of a cluster. I would put some of this on the receiver just for, I don't know this, but, it seemed like Bennett maybe thought that was going to break out into a corner route. I mean, I don't know. With Stetson, though, it's like he's fast enough to get out of that. You know what I mean? Like he's fast enough to get out of the box and throw that ball away. And, it was a little bit of a lazy play. But I thought in general, I liked going for the end zone on 3rd and 1 because it, basically said they were going to run the ball on 4th and 1 and try and pick up the first down. And from an analytics standpoint, I like Georgia going for 7 there to start the game. But yeah, when that field goal was missed, it kind of screwed up the flow of everything. And all of a sudden you're in a tie game, and then here comes Florida on offense. And I thought they moved the ball well early to start the game. And, we saw a lot of Richardson running, obviously.
Yeah, our defense was, a quick 3 and out. And, I was listening to Locked On podcast today. They had Clark or SEC StatCat on there, and they talked about 54% of Georgia's defensive drives ended in a 3 and out. So,
yeah.
It's like you said, this is a special defense, and definitely cures some of the ailments that a stumbling offense may have in a game. But yeah, we started out great. Tons of pressure.
And right there, you saw them split that running back out wide, and Quay Walker is out there on the side, and he, I think that's Quay Walker down there at the bottom of the screen that follows the running back out of the backfield. But he picks that up, and you see Richardson, kind of like we said, he's going to be one read and go. He goes to read that running back, and actually Quay is there in the middle. But whoever it was that followed that running back out to the side did a nice job blocking him and picking that up.
I think it was Dean, actually. I think it was Dean. He came in at the end there. But yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, like Georgia, here you get the ball back. Not great blocking on the outside at all. They let Brenton Cox get upfield here. And then, like this, if we, that was attempting to be that little tight end slip screen, but they didn't give it time to develop. And it's like you see Sawyer get blown off the ball. You see I think that's I think that's Schaefer. Yeah, or no, that's Van Pran right there. Like he doesn't touch anybody, but like Sawyer and Van Pran both get kind of blown by there on this play, and all of a sudden you're in 3rd and 8, and it's like again right here, McClendon, he lets a guy in off the right edge. Great job by Stetson, really getting out of that and finding Cook, but a lot of what Stetson was doing on Saturday was off of busted, broken plays. And, I know there was a lot of people, especially like here, Zamir runs the wrong way. I believe it was Zamir, and just doesn't, like he's supposed to go left. He hits the hole from the right, doesn't take a handoff. It turns into basically a triple option play, and then it picks up 6 yards with it. But like,
I mean, that's a as a fan of the opposing team, it's just crushing to see that.
It is, yeah, it totally is.
And you're right, though. I mean, that's the plays that Stetson can do that maybe JT may not be as adept at doing. I'm not saying you can't make them, but this is a bad drought.
Yeah, that was a really nice throw by Stetson. Actually, that's a tough throw to make, and he lofted that in there very, very well. And Sawyer does a better job holding the edge there. But yeah, I mean that's one that you'd like to see made. And then here, 2nd and 10, Cook comes up, and I think it's Erickson there that kind of lets that guy through, and now you're at 3rd and 13 again, and that ball could have been an interception right there, truthfully. And yeah, I mean, I just thought the O-line that has pass blocked so well all year really didn't hold up, and it was not just the guard play this time, but this was the first time I've seen anybody really like just abuse Georgia on the edges. Even I felt like even more so than stretches of the Clemson game, like that drive right there, Florida's getting consistent pressure off the edge with Cox and Carter, and I think that's concerning if you're a Georgia fan, and I think it's also like why, if you're a Georgia fan that's sitting there saying like Stetson sucks, there were some decisions he made in this game that I thought were bad, but like that drive is not his fault. You know what I mean? Like that drive, he's getting flushed and he's trying to make things happen. And I get the flip side of that is like, well, why aren't they playing JT? It's like, well, do you want JT in there, possibly not 100% healthy, trying to get him healthy, not the most fleet of foot guy, kind of under fire, you know what I mean? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah, I was going to jump ahead into the second quarter. So it was a lot of punts and, pretty good defense by both teams. And I think this was kind of what you're talking about, just not just super crisp blocking there. I mean, Zamir makes the most of it. But
Darnell, though, I mean, if you rewind that, Darnell is supposed to come in and be a lead blocker there, and he goes out for a pass route. Like, it's like, what's going on? He stones that blocker, and that's a good hole for Zamir coming off the right side. I mean, Zamir makes the most out of it because he's a good back, but it's like, yeah, if Washington blocks Cox there, then it turns into something much better. And then that was beautiful. Yeah, that was another a power concept with these guys pulling over. But Erickson coming around doing a really nice job there, creating that kind. And Zamir's really good at leaning into those like small creases and popping out of something like that. He really kind of almost busted that one. But yeah, I mean, this drive, you're cruising down the field on the ground. Everything's moving well. Here's Brenton Cox being lazy as hell, not chasing Stetson Bennett. And then Bennett brings you down there to the 8-yard line. And that's what he can do, right? Because like, let's be honest, that play is a sack probably with JT in the game.
Right. And it was exactly, but I mean, he just ran it, and then here we go.
Yeah, and then
stuffed
down here. Yeah, and I thought that I thought kind of had a rough first half in particular, just not really run blocking the way that we're used to seeing him, and not finding his guys. This was a play where I thought Stetson kind of missed a read here. I think I don't know if on the bottom, you've got this little rub route that's going to happen. It's a little pick play, and maybe if he throws it, it's called offensive pass interference because it's pretty blatant. But Bowers comes pretty open down there in the flat, and it just never gets thrown, which he's never looking that way. I don't know what the primary read was, but yeah, that was one that I think you maybe want to have back. But still, like Georgia was moving the ball up and down the field early, but it was, kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Block a couple run plays really, really well, and get some nice 8 gains on the ground, followed by missed blocking assignment, followed by missed pickups in the pass rush. So it just wasn't crisp, really. It wasn't as crisp as we've kind of gotten used to seeing Georgia over the last month.
Yeah. All right. So jumping forward late in this, we're getting to the honey hole here in the second quarter. But here's, again, this is a good drive, but we'll talk about it. So let's talk us through this play here if you can.
So I mean, this is a nice little cross with Darnell. Coming back across the formation, leaking out from being on the end of the line of scrimmage there, and getting his athleticism out into the play.
And it looks like the wheel route actually opened it up for him as they covered the.
It was pretty open. I think that's a tough throw for Stetson, truthfully.
Well, I'm just saying, like that was the disguise,
Totally.
They go with Cook, and then it just opens up this huge spot in the zone for Darnell.
Right, and I mean Cook, I think, did a pretty good job blocking his guy too. And then all of a sudden it's just like, what's going on here, man? This ball, I don't understand what's happening. Fitzpatrick comes out on this wheel. One thing, too, is he's got Mitchell on this crossing route here coming out of the slot. And I don't know if Mitchell sits down or if Stetson throws this, he's wide open. And if he throws it to Fitz sooner, he's got an easy little kind of throw in the flat that Fitz probably runs for close to a first down. But it's like Fitzpatrick is 5 yards behind the defender. Burton is in between 2 defenders. There's nothing there. There's no reason to throw that ball at all. Like, there's nothing there. And I mean, I don't know. You were at the game. I've been told it was really windy on Saturday. So it's like, at first I was like, well, maybe that was just a weird ball that got caught up in the wind and overthrown. But it's like, looking at it, it's like, even if it was, you shouldn't have thrown it. Like, there was nothing there to.
I mean, wind may have affected kicks. It didn't make that take that from a good throw to a bad throw. It was, you know what I mean? It was a
bad throw. Yeah,
it was a bad decision at the very least, and not a great throw at the very best. So, but all right, but maybe Stetson just knew that he just wanted to give his defense a chance to score and just pinned him deep. It's a coffin corner INT.
The arm punt from Stetson. Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of what we've talked about with this defense all year, right? It's like they sense the moment, they're timely, and they know when you need a big play. There's Jordan Davis being an absolute animal and monster, but Nolan Smith right here is one of these plays where you're like, no, yes, because it looks like Richardson's getting close to the first down, and you're sitting here and there's 2.5 minutes left, and you're like, you want Florida to get stopped and punt. And that strip was just somebody wanting the ball more than someone else. And Richardson's a big kid. I thought he did everything he could in this game, but Nolan Smith just jacks the ball from him. I mean, that's all you can say about it. And then credit right here to the O-line, because again, this team has been timely and they take advantage of their mistakes, but Gary Danielson, he points it out well. Van Pran and Erickson double team this D tackle right here. And then Erickson does a great job of peeling off and getting on that linebacker. And that's all the room that Cook needs to cut that back in 6 points. So, I mean, I thought that was a really great kind of emphatic ending to that after that offense had struggled and had just struggled running the ball in the red zone to come out and go 10-play rush, 1-play touchdown drive was very good.
I want to jump in because some of people that follow us on Twitter interact with different folks, and I think Sarah tweeted out sort of like something about the defense, and Edward Egros, who's an analytics guy, pointed out that the defense is so good at actually inflating the offensive EPA because, as we've talked about, EPA is based on down and distance and field position. So here it is, a one-play drive that absolutely is on the hands of the defense. So that one play goes for 6 points, and that's what that field position battle actually does factor in and boost some of the offensive numbers. And I think those that are questioning possibly this offense, it's because what happens when they've got to go 75, 76, 80 yards, can this offense do it? And they're not saying they can't. They're just saying we haven't seen it because the damn defense is so good. So, and so I just felt that was pretty, interesting. If you look at the scoring plays, there were two one play drives, set up by the defense, and a pick six and a 45 or 50 yard run. So as you kind of look at the whole offensive, it was a lot. It was very explosive, and that was about it. I
mean, it's a good I thought the Kentucky game, that was a game where Georgia's defense didn't have any turnovers, and Kentucky did a pretty good job of not really losing the field position battle terribly all day. So you got to see Georgia's offense go on some 75-yard drives and come out of the half and go 5 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown and do some really good things. But, yeah, I mean, on Saturday against Florida, you saw them move the ball kind of between the 20s pretty well at times. But that doesn't score points ultimately. It's like you want to see those drives end in the end zone, and maybe one of those drives ending in a field goal a game is okay, but not 3 of them ending in a field goal. And Georgia's been pretty good in the red zone this year. That's one thing I will say. They have been taking advantage of these opportunities. But right here, that play with Richardson, getting out on the edge. Just, I mean, look at Dean come out and take that pitch away and force basically that, force AR to keep that ball and come back into to Tyndall. That's just a really heady play by him. And then here's the pick, which the incredible thing about this pick is Trevon Walker is the defensive end, and he is 12 yards downfield playing zone. You see him back out right there. That's a 280-pound man covering that a 230-pound linebacker or safety. That's just pure athleticism, and he literally tipped straight to his guy. That was such an insane display of what Georgia has that no one else has right now, which is just absolute freak shows on defense that can play any position on the field almost at any time. And then here again, another one of those plays for the offense where it's credit. There was a lot of crap for the offense on Saturday, but when they had a shot to go for the jugular vein, boom, they hit it right there. You know what I mean? Because you're not coming back from 17 on this Georgia defense. They know it. Georgia's offense knows it. And
I'm in the opposite corner end zone on the Georgia side, and I could see this. I could see it. I knew. I mean, he took a 7-step drop, and you just saw it break open, and I thought he put too much air under it. I thought it was going to get defended, and then it's all the way on the opposite side of the field. So I was they called a touchdown. I was stoked, but it was
actually a really nice throw from Stetson. Truthfully, I mean, it was maybe a hair long, but I think you kind of had to throw it towards that back pylon to give Kyrus the room to create that separation from the man that was lined up straight in front of him. So
that's how open it was. It was in the air for a long time. Even my drunk ass could see it.
Hell yeah, there you go. And then I mean, this drive right here, there was a play earlier in the half where Keely Ringo. I think it was the drive where Florida missed that field goal, the 51-yard field goal in the, I think, late first or second quarter somewhere. But
I want to say something too after this before we look at this play.
Ringo backed out and kind of played a soft coverage, and Richardson threw one late intermediate, and Ringo was playing with so much cushion that he got away with it. But I literally said that should have been a pick. and we talked about it. I mean, shit, I tweeted it out on Saturday morning when the AR was starting. I told them go take a defensive touchdown prop bet for Georgia because you're gonna win some money. And Jacoby just baited him, man. Like he baited him.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to just what it's talking about personnel groupings and sort of what you can do leverage wise. It's like no one has zero personnel. No one has 5 wide receivers. You're going to put a running back out there as a receiver, and that's what you're trying to do as an offensive play caller is get a running back that can act like a wide receiver against a linebacker. But like we've talked about, these guys are absolutely so special that in coverage they're not a liability. They're in fact, it is an asset. And we talked about how good our linebacker coverage grades were. I know that PFF is the punching bag this week on Georgia Twitter and stuff. But we pointed it out. I mean, they've got good low yards per catch and no missed tackles and an excellent in coverage. And this is exactly right. He's trying to be sneaky and throw a ball to a running back against a wide receiver and game over. Literally game over at this point.
Oh yeah, no, it's over. I mean, it was over before that. Like, you get down 17 on Georgia and it's over. But that was just, I mean, like my dad was at the game and he called me and he was just like, and like normally when he's at a game, we'll text or whatever. But this was the first time I can remember maybe ever him being so excited by a sequence that it was like I got a call because he was like, I was sitting here feeling shitty for myself. Georgia's 3-0, and it feels like all these other years down here, and then all of a sudden it's a 24-0 game and it's over. And I mean, like this defense, I think, truthfully, man, like I've kind of written about this, but it's like you survive them more than you go out and move the ball and try and beat them. Like when you're playing this defense, the goal is almost as much not to allow something crippling that will end the game to happen as much as it is to try and move the ball and score touchdowns. Like it's almost equal parts. Just don't trigger the avalanche as it is. Let's go and drive the field.
Well, and then we're jumping ahead to the fourth quarter here, and we're going to look at Emory Jones against the defense. It may have been the better quarterback to start, but I believe this
as some people noted.
Yeah, but here's another bad play by Stetson here.
Yeah, and that ball just, I mean, it's underthrown, man. It's way underthrown. It shouldn't be thrown really anyways. But if it's going to be thrown, there is a universe where somebody with a really strong arm puts that way out towards the pylon and it's a completion, but it's just that's across the field from the opposite hash from 58 yards away. And so that turns in, that's a long throw. And there was no reason. And that drive started out really well with a couple nice plays. It was like Georgia was probably going to go down and score on that drive. And, same could be said about the Kenny McIntosh fumble. It was like the second half, I felt like this game really could have gotten stretched into the mid 40s pretty easily, or even high 40s. And Georgia just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And then they played soft with Jones in there and, really just kind of played not to give up any big plays. And you know what, I do think it bears mentioning or repeating, like, I think if Emory Jones is in the game, maybe one of those turnovers at the end of the half happens, but probably not all three. Definitely probably not that last one. And so it's just like, I think with him, Florida, like Mullen was victim to kind of falling into the pressure from the fan base, which there's a lot of for him right now. But I still thought
he's not any pressure from the press this week. He kind of went and turtled on him, but
well, yeah, that's why. But like Jones, I thought his agility was a little more like Richardson is a straight line runner and he's a big kid and he's athletic, but there's just not many gaps in the line of scrimmage with that Georgia defense. And I thought Jones kind of snaked through a little bit better and created some rushing lanes up the middle more often. But Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, like it would have been nice to have the shutout, but I think Georgia, a lot like the end of the Kentucky game at this point, they're just content for you to run clock, and they're not gonna, they're not gonna like run any exotic blitz and put it on film at this point. This was the spot where Ringo got pulled out of the game, and really I think it was on that coverage bust was on Brinny, but Ringo was yelling at him, so they pulled him off the field, and they were like, it's our job to yell at the players, not your job. Which I thought, like I
Yeah, that's
get
fine.
where Ringo's coming from, yeah, and I thought that it was great that, like, I think it's really interesting. And one thing we haven't really talked about on the show is just this offense, or I'm sorry, this coaching staff is very in tune with the psyche of this team, and there's the fiery chop wood, cut your ass loose kind of mentality that Kirby Smart is bringing, but there's also a lot of like cerebral, you know, pull this kid over to the side. Let's have a nice calm conversation and talk about what the coverage is supposed to look like, or talk about what he did wrong. And it's a good balance, I think, of like fire and intensity, and then let's talk about what actually happened instead of just yelling and freaking out. So I think that this staff has done a really good job of just managing kind of this mentality of the team this whole season, and keeping them motivated, but also just keeping them very together and not letting success kind of go to individuals' heads and pull things apart or create resentment in the locker room.
Well, it'll be interesting, talking about the locker room and stuff, and everyone's speculating about the quarterback. And, I was listening to the Bulldogs by the numbers or whatever with Brent and Tug. And, they talked about there's probably two camps in the locker room. There's probably a Stetson camp and a JT camp. And Kirby and his, criticisms of his quarterback room, I think, it's going to be tested. But I actually don't know how much of it's on Kirby at this point. I believe Monken has free reign and will put in the quarterback he thinks is going to win. He does not care what names on their nameplate, does not care what number they're wearing. He's just going to put the quarterback in that gives them best chance to win. But yeah, you did see the limitations of that, and maybe that play was called to maybe even test Stetson just to see how far he had come, and because Monken wants to throw those balls, he wants to make those balls.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, whether they're 50-50 balls or ball that only your guy can catch, but he may have showed his limits there. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the tunnel on Saturday at quarterback. I think we're going to see them both. I mean, I think I'm well documented that I'd like to see JT down the stretch.
I would too. Yeah, I mean, I think like what Stetson Bennett was doing for the month leading up to this game, I thought was good enough to go and win a title behind. And I would still kind of maintain, just from a sheer numbers standpoint and output standpoint, that's probably true with this defense. But I think with JT, the ceiling is higher, the processing is faster. The counter to my conversation or argument about maybe they're not pulling Stetson out for JT because the offensive line isn't blocking that well is that JT gets the ball out a lot faster, sees things a lot quicker, reads the field a lot quicker, and the time from snap to throw is significantly shorter on average with Daniels behind or under center. So that's another side of this.
If I were a better director, producer, and co-host at the same time, I would have pulled this graphic up when you were talking about what you saw out of Stetson early in the season, because this is the offensive total EPA, which is you take each play's grade, number, whatever you want to call it, and just cumulatively sum it up. And this is the season right here. So you can see that you thought that JT was leading an offense that could win a national championship. You can actually see us holding pace with Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. Now I know this is a random 4 teams, but clearly I think these are the teams that, Michigan State's in the playoff committee's top 4. Oklahoma's and Ohio State and Alabama have excellent offenses. But you can see that we're not keeping pace. You can see us sort of trail off. Now I'm not pushing the panic button. Don't troll me on Twitter, calling me Miss Debbie Downer. But I do think that we're seeing literally a ceiling with Stetson there. What do you think?
I mean, I think that's probably true to an extent. Yeah. I mean, I think, I thought Saturday was a really weird game just because the defense dominated and kind of created a situation where, like, they didn't play they didn't really play as tight on Florida in the second half as they did in the first half. So they let Florida possess the ball. I didn't really let them score. And then when you have 2 second half turnovers, like
Yeah.
Georgia just didn't see the ball that much. You know what I mean? Like on offense, like it felt like, I mean, there was only like 40 something offensive snaps in that game. I think maybe 50, but it wasn't much. And yeah, I think and that's partially due to Stetson's bad decision making and 2 interceptions to end drives. Um, but I think Bennett, the whole thing has been play action, play action, play action, and some of those rollouts and some of that stuff worked on Saturday, but some of that stuff Florida was ready for, and they had guys bracketed downfield and they had really soft coverages, and in the weeks earlier, Stetson had been content in those moments in the game to take a comeback route to like Lad McConkey instead of forcing the 40-yard throw downfield. And on Saturday, he didn't take those short throws. He forced everything downfield.
I've
So
got I got us at 52 snaps on offense to 74. So
yeah, and I mean time of possession wise, I know time of possession is a meaningless stat to most, but I'm sure it's pretty big discrepancy. But yeah, I mean with Stetson, like 48 something, I think 48.6 or 48.8% of his dropbacks have been play action, and that's where the majority of his yardage and touchdowns and EPA is coming from. JT, there's still, I mean, he hasn't played a ton of them, but 37% of his snaps have been play action, so a little bit lower. It seems like there's a little more trust, not trust, but there's a little more openness maybe or trust with him under center in terms of just straight dropbacks, more timing routes, throwing the ball downfield. So I think, kind of moving into talking about the CFP rankings being out and seeing Alabama there at number 2 and kind of realizing like there is a scenario maybe where Georgia beats Alabama in a close game and you still have to play them again. I hope not, but I think like if Georgia's got a shot to beat Alabama, they need to go beat them by 24. You know what I mean? Like they just need to go beat shit out of Alabama, take care of it once and for all, and not see them again a month later. And I think that with this defense, that's on the table, but I think it's on the table with this defense and JT under center going and scoring, 35 or 38 and holding them to, 17 or 20.
yeah, and obviously everyone's going to be talking about their rankings this week, and it, maybe it's because Georgia's number 1, and I'm not fired up about it. I just, it is what it is. I do think that Cincinnati deserves to have a path there. That's my feeling. I don't know if they're deserving of a playoff spot, but it's kind of moot. We got a lot of football left to play. If you think Michigan State,
we do.
Yeah, if you think Michigan State and Oregon are running the table, I think you're crazy. I think, and that's what I think at the end it's going to be the 4 best teams. Maybe there's going to be 5 to choose from, and I think Cincinnati's going to be one of those 5. So it'll be once we get to that point, when we're week 11 or week 13 or whatever, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Georgia's on top, and everyone's saying we win these last 4 games, which we're going to be favored by, double digits, if not, in the 20s, and some of them we're in, and that's a damn good place to be.
And I think that's correct, man. I do. They even said last night, there's a clear gap in the committee's mind between Georgia and everybody else, and I don't know. I'm not also like. I'm not convinced that Bama runs the table either. I think that Auburn is playing really well, and weird stuff happens to that game, and they got to go to Jordan Hare. And I think that if Bo Nix is like on his, his like mega church Manziel kind of flow or whatever it is he does, that You never know what happens in that game because he played really well against Ole Miss the other night. I was really impressed actually with him.
Yeah, the Iron Bowl is shaping up to be a really good Iron Bowl again.
I know, and it's always nice to have that game be a good one.
I know this playoff is going to make that meaningless, but we should enjoy the Iron Bowl while we can.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So before we go, obviously Braves won the ring last night. Been 26 years between titles. In that time, the Braves have been to the playoffs 16 times, which is 2 more than the Cubs went to the playoffs in their 105-year World Series drought, which I think is a pretty crazy stat. But yeah, I mean, we've watched Atlanta sports teams fail in big moments over and over. Obviously, the Braves 16 playoff trips in a row, 28-3, second and 26, all this stuff. Does it change anything for you in terms of how you look at this season for Georgia? Does it make you more optimistic? Does it make you feel like there's a monkey off the back at all?
Nah, not at all. I mean, I'm happy for the Braves, but it's narrative and it's fun to talk about. I mean, am I happy about
really
it?
Not fun to talk about.
Yeah. No, it's cool, but it's like, no, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, because just like you said, there's now the committee has left a path for going through Alabama twice. So unless Soler is going to come in and DH in the second half for Georgia, I don't, I mean, it's great, but no, I don't believe in curses, but I do think that said, I think it's Georgia's. This is a great. I'm not going to say the only shot. It's now or never, because I think that Kirby is stacked classes and we're going to be really good. So I do think this is a year. Let's go get it. Maybe the psyche of the players a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. I just don't. I think they're so dialed
I don't
in.
think it's good shit. Yeah.
I think they're dialed in. They're doing their own thing and stuff. But the sense of pride around the whole the Southeast, I think it's great. Andre 3000 said, it's like South's got something to say. So I would love to see us stack championships like Kirby's stack classes, which would be really cool. I'd love to see Trae Young go make another deep NBA run. So I love all of that narrative, but I don't think it factors into the Georgia season.
Well, I mean, I don't. So, I wrote an article this summer that, some people really liked, and people like Sarah got really mad at me for, because I wrote about, let's just go and, why don't you just, when you think about this Georgia season, just allow yourself to think about the possibility of them going and winning a national title, and just be positive about it, and we'll see what happens, right? Because I do think, when Atlanta went up 4-0 in Game 5 at home, you could feel, just through the TV and all the way out here in the Mountain Time Zone, I could feel every person in that stadium sphincter tighten up and just be like, how are we going to blow this, right? And I think that, that energy does somehow, I think that group consciousness can be a real thing, and I think that energy can affect things that it's near to, and I felt like that sitting at the Georgia Alabama game, the 2018 national title game, where you could just tell everyone was like, oh God, what's going to happen? And I think the Braves players obviously stayed loose, and maybe being in Houston and going up big last night, I think probably helped them a little bit, instead of being in front of Braves fans who were going to freak the fuck out. And so my thing moving forward is just dude, this Georgia team is really good. Like you said, it's not the end of some window. They're going to continue to stack 5 stars. They're going to continue to have opportunities to win national titles. I think this is a great defense, and I really want to see them cash it in, because I think it's a unique way to win a college football title in this day and age, and I think that would be very cool. But, man, enjoy the ride. I lived through Ray Goff and Jim Donnan, as I know you have too. And
those were the years I was there. All we had was the Braves.
Right, man. It's I remember watching Jim, going to Georgia games in Donnan's first year, and them being horrible, losing to Southern Miss 12-7.
That was my senior year.
Dude, that's brutal. Yeah, and I mean, like, my junior year at Georgia was Joe Cox, or I guess that was my son. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I lived through Joe Cox and the 2010 6-6 year. It's like I've seen a lot of bad football too, and so enjoy it and have fun. But it's like I hope for some people out there that are just like all this is doomed, that the Braves winning last night maybe helps them keep that energy a little bit out of things if Georgia does find themselves up in
I think
Alabama.
I think Georgia Twitter is a little unique than the Georgia at all. There's a confidence vibe that I got at the cocktail party. I mean, I had it. I wasn't down, 3-0, 0-0. I was not stressed at all.
Yeah.
And so I do think that maybe Georgia Twitter is going to be more, because everyone wants to be funny and sarcastic, and and it's a cesspool.
Right.
So but I think your message is real, and I think your positivity is felt by a lot of people. So but that said, are we going to break down a 39-point underdog this week?
I was thinking instead of, I mean, like, I don't know how much film you guys need on Mizzou. They're real bad. Yeah. So my thought would be maybe let's circle back and do like a pick show,
Yeah.
for the whole college football weekend. And
Let's do
we
something.
can show a few stats. All you need to know is that Mizzou gave up. Oh my God! Hold on. Let me see how much it was. What are they?
They're giving up 7 yards of carry almost, man.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just like they're giving up 7 yards of carry. They gave up 28 points to Vanderbilt and 260 yards on the ground to Vandy. So, yeah, they're bad. Their offense, though, has been productive.
Yeah, if Basilak's back, it might change.
I think that might be it's a good type of offense for them to face going into the Tennessee game, because there's a lot of similar stuff there. So, I went on with Chase Thomas yesterday, who's a Tennessee guy, and like he's not like he thinks that Georgia's going to beat Tennessee by a large margin, but he does think that Tennessee is going to break 20 on Georgia. So it's an interesting thing to watch, because I think that's going to be our best chance to see maybe what Georgia versus Alabama may look like in some sense, just because Hooker does some similar things to Young, and I don't know. We'll get into all that next week. We'll do the full preview film breakdown for Tennessee, because I think it warrants it. But we'll circle back later in the week and shoot it a little bit and talk about Mizzou. But I'm not sure, guys, if I've got 10 hours of film study in me for a 39-point spread. I
don't have any Mizzou plays queued up, I don't think. So we're gonna have some fun. All right. Enjoy the championship. Go Dogs, go Braves. Thank you so much, Graham, for running through these plays with us again. And
thank you.
We are. I hate to keep asking for this. Anybody that's still watching, that we're doing well with the FTMF hats. That we've got 90 plus on a waiting list. So
somebody messaged me in the bottom of the 8th inning last night asking where to get an FTMF hat.
We're working on it. We are absolutely working on it. I've got a good buddy whose brother-in-law is constantly looking for hats, so he's fired up. He's a dog, and we're gonna get these done. Graham, I got to run to work. You've got to run to work, and but subscribe and rate, review, all that stuff. And I'm out, and I can't wait to watch the 39-point favorite game go down. So with that,
yeah,
go Dogs.
Go Dogs.